Hi guys, it's Sarah here. I am the face behind Serasituations. This week we celebrated my blog's very first birthday, and as a special, I promised you guys that I would bring you my first Q&A vlog. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has sent through their questions. I will do my best to get through them all, but I hope that you enjoy this. So to help me get through my Q&A vlog special, I've invited my nearest and dearest to come help me out. So I have my brother here. This is Kevin. And Kevin will read through the first couple of questions that have been submitted. So let's hit it off.
Okay, question 1.
Okay.
How did you come up with the name Serasituations?
Serasituations, how did I come up with that? I was in Brisbane and I have a very close friend of mine called Leah. And she just says really dopey things. So the girls always say to her like, oh, Leah problems. And I thought that was great. So I thought, oh, I'd like to emulate something like that for myself. So when I came back to Sydney, this was in 2013, I would like write statuses up on Facebook and at the end I'd write Serasituations. But I feel like over the years, it has grown to be like a brand because like my family and my friends know about it. So if I do something that's like very Sarah-like, they're like, Serasituations. So when I thought about what name to use, I thought, I'll just stick with something that everyone knows and loves, which is Serasituations.
Nice. So question 2, what inspired you to do this blog?
What inspired me to do this blog? What inspired me to do this blog was in 2016, I stepped down from youth leadership after 3 years. My top love language is words of affirmation. So I love to read and I like to write, and that's how I find my comfort. But at the time when I was looking on the internet for like some Christian blogs or forums that sort of spoke to me, I didn't really find any that spoke my language, like just real and authentic. So I would say the question is more who inspired me to start my blog, and that would be this lady called Jamie, the very worst missionary. So she's a pastor missionary, but she speaks my language. She's, you know, she drinks, she swears, and she just writes so raw and authentically. So that's what inspired me to start my blog, because I thought, well, if Jamie is speaking to me like this, I can find someone that I can speak to like that. So that's really the inspiration behind my blog. Jamie, the very worst missionary.
Nice. And question 3, what is your biggest fear about blogging?
My biggest fear about blogging, well, I think from the outset, my biggest fear was 1, no one would give a shit about what I had to say. And 2, I would fail epically and people would ridicule me for it. So those were my 2 biggest fears. But I think over time, that sort of changed because I realized that what I have to say resonates with people, and that keeps me going when I'm scared.
Number 4, what makes your blog different to other ones currently on the internet?
I think that it's a raw blog, it's authentic, and I write as I am. Like, it's just a true representation of who I am. Is that to say that other blogs aren't real and aren't authentic? No, I just think I have a very different style of writing, and therefore it's a bit different to others.
Right. When did you discover that writing and speaking is your natural talent, gift?
I think it's important to highlight that gifts and talents are 2 different things. I feel like a talent is something that you work on over time to be good at, whereas I feel like a gift is something that God readily instills in you when He creates you. So I think for me, I believe that my blogging is more so a gift as opposed to a talent. I feel like from the time that I was a kid, I had a knack for things that really didn't come easy to other people, which was I love to write and I love to speak. And I find great pleasure and great joy when I do it. When did I figure out it was probably something that was a gift? It was maybe about 2 years ago. Probably when I started writing when I started my blog, I realized that it was something that came quite natural to me. So yeah, to answer that question in short, it was maybe 2016.
Right. Question 6, your posts have been very raw. How do you process the emotions leading up to it?
I suck at it, to be honest. And most of the times, I really suck at processing my emotions. Like, how many times have you found me crying on your bed? Like, when you're coming after training? I don't know. Processing your emotions, I think the biggest misconception is people think that it's easy to just have a blog and to write. Every time that I write, I don't have a product or a service that I'm promoting or I'm trying to sell. I write about my life. So every time that I do, it takes a bit of me. Like, because once you put your stuff on the internet, you would know this, when your stuff's on the internet, it's there forever. People will take it, believe it, however they receive it. But how I've processed it, I think, is more so, I sit on my post for a while. I don't post when I'm angry because I feel like I would receive an uproar if I did that. I sit on them for a fair bit. I feel the pain in my story. So if it's something that's very personal to me and it makes me sad, I'll allow myself to be sad. If it makes me happy, like I'll find joy in it. So yeah, feeling the pain of the story, feeling the emotions really. And the third part would be like having friends that I can talk to. So like I speak to you, I speak to Rhonda, I speak to Mum, speak to my cousin Vera. Like I will speak to people that I trust and can carry the weight of what I'm trying to share to be able to advise me correctly.
Well, one more question that's not on here that I want to ask.
Whoa!
Well, obviously a lot of time and thought goes into our posts, so how long does that take to process for you to write up a post before you do it on your blog?
I'm crying. I think I've learned to write more so when I'm inspired. It's I realized that the importance of my blog is one that I value deeply. Like I know it's nothing that should be ever taken lightly, because I genuinely feel that until Lee is my boyfriend all the time, that I feel like the weight of my work is important. How long does it take me? Honestly, I don't write unless I'm inspired, and I think I've learned that over time, is that I receive the best response and the words resonate better with my readers when I write when I'm inspired. So I try to post once every month, but if I'm not feeling inspired, then I won't write. But yeah, just takes time. So as my second guest host, I have a very close friend, not even a friend, more like a cousin, sister, couldn't live without her type of gal with me. So this is my cousin Vera.
Hi.
And so Vera's going to read my second lot of questions. So what I've done is I've divided the questions more so like introduction questions. This is the heavy section of the Q&A part. And then we'll end with some lighthearted. So without further ado, let's get into it.
All right. So, question 1. Did you envision having this space online from when you were young, or was there a defining moment that put you down this path?
No, I didn't envision this from when I was a child, because I didn't know what a blog was. But I do know that from like 3 years ago, I knew I wanted a blog. I just didn't know what a blog was. Yeah. I would say that there was a defining moment, and that was in 2016, like I'd mentioned with Kevin, when I had come out of that season of youth leadership and I was on this whole self-exploration, trying to find myself journey. I had that light bulb moment when I came across Jamie the Very Worst Missionary's blog.
Yes.
That this is something I want to do. And that being said, here we are now, a year later.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, question number 2. I always hear you say, live your best life. What is your definition of living your best life, or what does it look like, and what keeps you grounded?
So live your best life. I feel like you've heard that me say that. I say that when I'm drunk, when I'm lit, when I'm like the president of the leading committee. I say that. I say that when I'm like trying to justify myself. But live your best life to me means living life on your own terms, living life on my own terms. That means defining what fun means to me, having it, but obviously within means, and just living the life that you want. Like I lost my grandfather, like I lost Papa last month. And like if there's anything that it sort of left me with is I know that he lived a full life. So I want to make sure that I live a full life. He lived his best life. Yeah. I want to live my best life. Like honestly, God willing, if I ever have the opportunity to like, you know, think about my life on my deathbed, and I said this in my last blog post, I want to look back and be like, man, I lived such a good life. I lived a full life. And so for me, that's what living your best life means, is just living to the absolute max. What keeps me grounded?
Yes.
Not a lot. No, I'm joking. No, I mean, we come from a family of believers, so essentially, like, how the Bible tells us to live is the underlying, like, the ultimate compass in my life, and it keeps me grounded. And so I know that, and that's how I'm convicted. I'm convicted on a biblical basis. Whereas I would like to say who keeps me grounded, and they have to be my siblings. So awesome. Wesley, Kevin, Rhonda, because like for me, they know me better than anyone else. They know me, like we've all been through the same thing. So when they're like, I love what you're doing, I'm like, yes, I'm exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. But when they're like, tone the fuck down, which always comes from Rhonda, then I'm like, okay, I need to humble myself. So yeah.
All right, so this is a pretty good question. You are changing the perception of Pacific Islanders, in particular Pacific Island women. Do you think what you started, it would get to the stage? Yeah, do you think what you started?
I mean, I think, first of all, thank you to the person who submitted that question, because I don't take it lightly when people say that you're part of the changing face of Pacific Islanders. I never started this blog, and I think it's really important for me to highlight, to prove a point.
Yeah.
That was never, ever my intention. There's further thought. It's not even a thought that comes into my mind. But I think I acknowledge that perhaps I am part of the changing face of Pacific Islanders, but it's not me. I played like the teeniest part in this, because if anything, I'm probably standing on the shoulders of the many Pacific Islander men and women that went before me, and they've led by example. And I don't have to look far, and I don't have to look in history books. I just have to look within my family and realize that they've led by example. They're living their truth. They're doing more with their lives, and in that sense, like, they've just led by example, and I'm just trying to do what they're trying to do. Yeah. If that means that I'm part of the changing face of Pacific Islanders in society, then so be it. But I don't take it lightly.
In regards to that, what is one piece of advice that you would give to the Pacific Island community?
Be the standard. Be the standard.
Nice.
In your workplace, in your school, in your universities, in your social groups, like, we grew, and like, I'm so passionate. Like, people who know me know how passionate, like, we've spent hours talking about the stigma, with Pacific Islanders, specifically within the world that we know. So you being in New Zealand, me being here in Sydney. But just be the standard. Like, we talk about, Pacific Islanders doing more than just music and sport. Yeah. Well, we can't just say that and not do it yourself. Yeah. So, that would be my advice. Just be the standard that you want to see for your kids to see, and so on forth.
Is being a Christian always about being nice or representing Christ?
Like, tough question.
That's a good one.
Like, that's a bloody tough question. So it's being a Christian about being nice or representing Christ. Well, I heard this valuable piece a couple years ago when I was still in high school, and it was when I was at a youth camp, and the pastor that was preaching said, you couldn't be the only Jesus that your family and friends see. Yeah. So that being said, how are you acting? So to me, I feel like the way I can answer that question is, if you're not being nice, are you actually being a representation of Christ? Yeah. Oh my God, that totally rhymed. but think about it. For me, the Jesus that I know is a Jesus that is loving, that is compassionate, that is kind, that is inclusive. So I can only emulate that Jesus. And if, family and friends see that, that's all I can do. Yeah. But I feel like, if you're not being a nice Christian, like, who wants to believe in the God that you believe in if he's not nice? Yeah. But there's enough judgment. People have such mixed perceptions of who Christ is, but to me, that's who Christ is, and that's who I will represent him to be within my spheres of influence. So, be a nice Christian. They're both.
Be nice. How do you know when you are being used?
How do you know if you're being used? Honestly, I think about friendships and relationships like a transaction, right? You give some, you get some. Yeah. So I think that everyone's sort of relationships are different, right? And only you can be the personal judge of that. But for me, in my personal experience, I think I know I'm being used when what I'm giving to someone is taken for granted, and that shows up in them not acknowledging you, thinking that what you're doing is just a given without any acknowledgement again. So it's more so you need to define what being used looks like.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And that being said, you have to hold people accountable to it. So if someone oversteps that boundary and you allow it, well then I think you need to ask yourself the question more than that person, like, what exactly am I willing to take?
Yeah, that's so true.
So you need to define it, and you need to be able to respect your boundary, and then call people out on their bullshit if they cross that line.
Yeah, and don't be a people pleaser.
100%.
Yeah. The first time you do something wrong, it's a mistake. The second time, it is a choice. I'm a believer in learning from your mistakes, but I still make the same ones every now and then. Do you reckon change can be that instantaneous? And do you think you're always aware when you're at fault?
Big question.
That's a huge question.
Okay, so when you think about change being instantaneous, let's address the first part of the question, which is when you make a mistake. The first time. When you make a mistake the first time, 100% it's a mistake. Yeah. It might be that you lied to your partner, or you stole something from the shop, and therefore you're like, oh shit, that's a mistake. I'm never going to do it again. Yeah. Whereas I feel like, based on the nature of what you're trying to change, whether it's a habit or whether it's like you cheat on your partner, right? Happens the first time, it's a mistake. Yeah. You're fucked up. every time that it happens after that, I feel like you are actually making a choice.
Yeah.
So I think one, like, you know when you're drunk and then like you do something but you haven't lost all your consciousness, you know exactly what you're doing, you know what you're saying. Sometimes it's a bit of a blurry line, right? It's a bit of a blurry line. I mean,
your judgment's a bit poor.
100%. But like the first time that it happened, like you said, when you're drunk you still have some sort of consciousness, like you know what's happening and you permit it. That's fine. Label it a mistake the first time it happens, because mistakes are inevitable. But every time thereafter, if you continue to cheat on your partner, that is a choice. So you have to take ownership for your bullshit. Like if you fuck up, you fuck up. If you keep doing it, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because you know exactly what you're doing. You don't lose your full consciousness. That's my personal belief. But then again, it's very much like, and it's change instantaneous. It honestly depends on the nature of what you're trying to change. You go to a shop, you buy something, you're not happy, you take it back, you get a refund. Instantaneous change. But something like that, cheating on your partner, that's hard. That takes time. So it honestly depends on the nature of what you're trying to change, if it's instantaneous or not, because honestly some things take time, and it's a combination of choice as well. Like, are you willing to change what you're trying to change?
So last question. What advice do you have for younger women still lacking confidence in themselves, and how is it that you became such a strong woman in who she is?
Big question. Assess the people that you're hanging out with, because in 2013 I did a interview with Talanoa and I spoke about makers and breakers. So makers are essentially people who, like, for me, makers in my life are women who come around me, who speak value into me, instill confidence, remind me about my worth. Whereas breakers are the people who do the exact opposite. So they will speak down on you, they will remind you of everything that you're not, and just not place that value on you. So honestly, if you are a woman and you are still lacking confidence, I ask you to really assess who you're hanging out with. Like that beautiful quote, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And how did I become such a strong woman in who I am? The company I keep. Exactly that. The company I keep is so important to me, because essentially they're the ones that you rely on when you can't rely on yourself. So I am the woman I am because of the company I keep. All right, guys, so we're at the last segment of my Q&A special, so I thought there'd be no one more fitting than my better half. So everyone, this is like, can you like smile? Like,
okay, you want to do it again? You want to start again?
No, we'll just keep rolling with that, because that's who you are. Anyways, so we have a few last couple of questions, so let's get into it.
Okay. If you were stuck on a deserted island, which sibling would be most beneficial to get off that island, and why?
100% Wesley. I would choose Wesley because Wesley's like very resourceful. Like, he's a thinker and he's a doer. Kevin, he's a bit of a king. Like, he would rather pay for someone to get us off the island. And Rhonda just but never gonna happen. Like, we'd be stuck there, we'd die on that island.
What is your favorite book?
My favorite book would have to be Me After You, which is the second book in the Me Before You sequel by Jojo Myers. So I am heavily invested into Louisa Clark. Like, you know this. Yeah. I was like...
Took over your life for a while.
Absolutely. Like, I was like, I need to be a caregiver. I need to fight... No, I don't want to go as far as I was going to say. But, like, loved her. Like, Louisa Clark, you're a part of my life, sister.
Who are the 3 most influential women in your life?
Easy. My mum. Actually, it's not that easy because there are many influential people in my life, but in terms of women, it would definitely be my mum, Arietta Rika, and my sister Rhonda.
Interesting question here. How do you put up with your wonderful boyfriend, Lee?
Okay, you totally morphed that question.
That's okay.
No, it doesn't. How do I put up with my wonderful boyfriend, Lee?
Yeah.
I think the question is, how does Lee put up with... How about you tell the people how you put up with me? Tell them a bit about me. Tell them how great I am.
Patience. A lot of patience.
Patience.
I think between the both of us.
Yeah.
Clear, open communication. Those are all the things that I think keep us on the right side of each other.
Yeah.
How do you balance work, studies, social life, and going out all together? Do you ever have days where you just can't be bothered?
Like, you know better than anyone else, I lead a very busy life. That's no secret. honestly, I have a format to my week. I work full time, so that's a given, my 9 to 5, but everything just fits into my week. So I know that I train 3 times in the morning. So before 6 o'clock I'm out of the house. I know that 2 nights a week I have field sessions. Does that mean I commit to it all? No, I'm very inconsistent, and like my club would be the first to tell you that I don't attend every session, but I do know the standard format for my week, and I try and hit it at that. So like it's hard, it's very dysfunctional. I never kill it to an absolute T. It's dysfunctional, but it makes sense to me. So it just works, right? Do I have days that I can't be bothered? I absolutely do have days where I can't be bothered, but my cure is going for long walks on the beach. Love a good walk on the beach, love a good coffee, love watching Empire, and spending time with this fluffy face here.
What new content can we be expecting on your blog?
To be honest, I would love to try vlogging. This is a vlog, right? This is a vlog.
Yep.
I like to see how it sort of like hits off with my current audience. I'd like to explore it a bit more, so that'd be something I'd be looking at. And featuring more guest bloggers, which probably is a good opportunity for me to say, if there's anyone who actually wants to write and have a platform to share it on, please hit me up. I am so open to the idea.
Last question. Where do you see your blog in 5 years?
Where do I see? That's a good question to end on. Where do I see my blog in 5 years? I see my blog. I don't have long-term goals for my blog, but I will say this, and I've said this to you many times. I cry when I say this, but I'm like, I feel as though the work of Serasituations is far beyond what any of us can see at this point. I'm like, I don't know where that influence begins and ends. I don't know if I'll last in this for another year. It'll have 5 years. I don't know. But all I know is I do have short-term goals, which is that sees me through to the end of this year, and then at the end of this year, then I'll reassess. I'll take it on a year-on-year basis. Like, it's there, and you know, God willing, if He continually like favors this blog and continues to breathe into it, then it'll last. But there's no telling at this point. But it's gonna be great. I believe it. You believe it?
It'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be great. Sweet. So guys, that being said, we've come to the absolute end of my Q&A. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone who sent through their questions. I say this all the time, you guys are my why. I love Serasituations. I love what it's brought to my life, and I love being able to share this journey with you. So what a great first birthday. And I'm sure the second year will bring about a lot more joy.
Yeah, definitely.
Love you.
Bye.
Oh, we done it. I mean, unnecessary. I couldn't do this out. I'm okay. Like, can we all hear the pepper in the background?
Where is the pepper even coming from? No one just...
Do you know what was a really good point though?
Yeah.
Between the talents and the gifts.
You like that?
I loved it. Loved your response. Very good.
Yeah. Woo!
That's alright.
We got through it.
Yeah.
I want to cry.
Hey.